One night, while all the ants in the colony are resting, Zoc goes looking for the last ingredient he needed to finish his potion. After days of searching, the mage finally finds the fire crystals and asks Spindle to light the place while he extracts the mineral from the rock. Other ants, who were sleeping below, are bothered by the rocks falling on their heads and order Zoc to go to sleep. However, he ignores them and continues to work hard to complete his mission. In a few minutes, the mage manages to destroy the rock and collect the crystals. The next morning, the workers go back to work, when they are interrupted by the destroyer. The anthill is in the backyard of the Nickel family home, where Lucas lives with his parents and sister, Tiffany. The boy has no friends and is regularly teased by other boys in the neighborhood, especially Steve. The boy is the oldest in the class, so he uses his strength and size to intimidate the other boys in the neighborhood. To avoid the provocations, Nikki and other young ones join him, but they are also the boy's targets. After giving Lucas a wedgie, the boy leaves with his gang. Annoyed, Lucas takes out his water pistol and attacks the anthill to take out his anger. This is not an isolated case. Whenever he goes through these humiliations, the boy attacks the anthill as a way of venting what he feels. Because of the frequent attacks, the young man became known throughout the colony as the Destroyer. Zoc tries to fend him off and threatens to use his powers against him, but Lucas kicks the anthill and throws it away. Hova tries to communicate with the boy, as she believes that this will stop the attacks, but her attempts are unsuccessful and Zoc needs to prevent his girlfriend from being crushed. When the boy was about to eliminate the couple, his mother calls him back home. Doreen informs her that she is going on a romantic trip with her husband, Fred, to celebrate their wedding anniversary. She says goodbye to Lucas and realizes that the boy is upset. The woman asks the boy what is going on, but he is furious and asks her to leave soon. The couple leaves their children, Tiffany and Lucas, in the care of Grandma Mamo, who is on the second floor of the house and ends up dropping her dentures in the garden. Lucas then goes to his grandmother's room to return the prosthesis and discovers that the old woman is building a real fortress in her room. When questioned about the reason for all this, Grandma Mamo replies that she is preparing for an alien invasion. Meanwhile, Zoc is at the colony working on his potion. However, something is preventing his magic from working. The mage rubs the fire crystals, but the liquid does not change color as expected. Hova tries to cheer him up, but the head of the council arrives just in time and interrupts the couple. He tells that, due to the Destroyer's frequent attacks, the food stocks are way below normal and asks if Zoc has any solutions. The mage then guarantees that he will soon be able to finish his potion, which will save the colony. The next morning, as Lucas waters the grass, he is surprised by Steve, who suddenly throws a firecracker near him. Before leaving, the boy launches a second firecracker, which ends up going out before it bursts. Furious, Lucas looks at the anthill and plans his next attack. In that instant, Zoc continues working on his potion and discovers that the fire crystals are not working due to their fissures. To cover the imperfections, he decides to use resin. After that, the mage makes another attempt and the potion is finally ready. While celebrating, he is surprised by a strong current of water that invades the anthill and drags everyone wherever it goes. The place was being completely destroyed, but Lucas is interrupted by a weird guy who approaches him claiming to be a pest exterminator. Stan Beals claims that Fred Nickel hired his services but forgot to sign the contract before traveling. He then manages to convince the boy to sign the document in his father's place. After the flood, Zoc and Hova emerge from the water and discover that Spindle managed to save the potion. They rescue the head of the council, who is buried under the rocks, and despair at the current state of the colony. The ants are worried with this situation, as all the attacks took place without any reason and without any provocation on their part. At that moment, the mage informs that he managed to finish his potion and, that night, he meets with other ants to put his plan into action. The small group crosses the entire house and walks to Lucas's room. Arriving there, Zoc pours the liquid into the boy's ear and the potion soon takes effect. When he wakes up, in the middle of a storm, Lucas realizes that everything around him is gigantic and he notices that he has shrunk. Startled, he falls out of bed and lands inside a bag of chips. When he leaves there, Zoc is already waiting for him. Due to a strong thunder, Grandma Mamo wakes up scared and goes to Lucas's room to check if the boy is okay. At that time, she, through her binoculars, can see her grandson being taken away by ants and ends up passing out. Once outside the house, the insects throw the boy inside the colony and transport him to the place where his trial will take place. All the ants were already waiting to watch the event and are surprised to see a human so closely. The guards drag him to the council and Fugax reads the charges. It's announced the arrival of the queen ant, who must give the sentence to the human. The Majesty then decides not to kill the boy, as this would ensure the colony's survival for a short period of time as, soon after, other humans could attack them. Their idea is to force Lucas to live with them in the colony until he learns what it's like to be an ant. That way, they could build a better future for all ants. Hova offers to tutor the young man on this journey, and the very next morning, they begin training. However, Lucas tries to hide from her and devises an escape plan as he tries to build an outfit from the materials he found around the colony. With Hova's help, he realizes that there is no point in running away, as he will only return to his normal size after learning to become an ant. Therefore, she offers to help him find his place in the colony. Hova tries to fit him into the collection, as the instructor is her great friend. Krila sends the boy to the blue team, along with other males in the colony. In that first trial, each team must work together to avoid obstacles, retrieve the jelly bean, which they call the sweet stone, and return to the nest. The first team to return will be the winner, but for that, no member could be left behind. Krila takes off, and the first challenge they have to face is crossing a crack in the ground. The blue team ants join together to form a bridge, but Lucas decides to cross alone. The result is that he ends up falling inside the crack and needs to be rescued by his colleagues. In order to cross the puddle of water, they need to team up again, but Lucas ends up getting loose from the rest of the group, accidentally, and is thrown straight into the sweet rock. Excited by the boy's speed, the other ants on his team decide to use the same strategy to cross and quickly reach their goal. Now, the challenge is to return to the colony before the red team. For that, they need to climb a rock, but Lucas can't climb like an ant. His teammates try to help him, but the red team manages to reach the finish line first and wins the contest. At the end of the game, Hova praises the boy's performance, but Lucas says he doesn't do well with teamwork. As they talk, Hova senses something is approaching and pulls the boy to safety. Soon after, several wasps approach the colony and rob the group. At this time, the ants unite to attack them and throw stones at their enemies. One of the wasps attacks Krila, but Zoc appears to save her. He hits a bolt of lightning at the insect's head and runs to help Hova, who is being attacked while protecting Lucas. The wizard asks the boy to help her, but Lucas gets scared and decides to run away. Zoc arrives to help her, but the wasp catches Hova and flies her away. One of the predators goes after the boy, and he has the idea of using the firecracker that was lying on his lawn to get rid of the insect. Lucas uses a shard of glass to direct the sun's heat to the rope and manages to light the firecracker. In an attempt to eliminate the boy, the wasp attaches its stinger to the bomb and Lucas walks away before the object explodes. At that moment, Zoc appears and is also bombed. Frightened, the wasp carrying Hova decides to release her and leave, along with her swarm. Seeing their enemies retreating, the ants credit the destroyer and thank him for saving the colony. However, Zoc is outraged by this situation, as he knows that Lucas was actually just trying to save himself. That night, to celebrate his victory, the entire colony is partying and Fugax brings nectar for dinner. Seeing his new friends enjoying that food, Lucas decides to try it and finds it delicious. He eats all of those and Fugax goes to get another portion. At that moment, Lucas discovers that it's nothing more than maggot droppings and gets sick to his stomach. To help him feel better, Hova gives him a piece of root in a drop of water. After drinking that medicine, the boy begins to improve and lets out a belch that echoes throughout the colony. After dinner, Hova, Fugax and Krila decide to take their guest to meet the Queen Mother, the one who gave birth to all queens in all colonies. On the way there, Lucas sees some drawings on the wall, which tell the history of the colony. Finally, they see the image of the mother ant. Legend has it that one day she will return and fresh nectar will fall from the sky like rain. Also in that place, there is the drawing of the cloud breather. That drawing is very old and no ant in the colony really knows what it means. What everyone knows is that death follows him. Upon seeing that image, Lucas remembers that he signed a contract with the Terminator and runs to his house to try to dismiss him. Krila tries to stop the boy, but he promises that if his friends help him, they can get as many sweet stones as they want. As they walk through the door, they soon come across a shag rug that could slow them down. So Lucas comes up with the idea of using the rose petals as a parachute. After climbing on the sideboard, each of them picks up a petal and awaits the boy's command to jump all together. In doing so, they are pushed by the fan and manage to cross the room. However, Fugax is left behind and ends up falling between the propellers. Luckily, he makes it out alive and the group makes it to the kitchen. There, they find the jelly beans and Lucas runs to the phone while Fugax and Krila get the candy. The boy dials the number of Stan the Terminator, but ends up getting the last number wrong. The phone rings and a Pizza Kingdom employee answers it. Lucas thinks he's talking to Stan and claims he wants to cancel the contract. At the end of the call, he feels relieved, but the phone rings and Tiffany appears to answer it. When it hangs up, she sees Fugax picking up a jelly bean and attacks him. Her intention is to eliminate that disgusting insect, but Grandma Mano appears to stop her. The old lady is afraid that the girl will crush Lucas, as she knows that her grandson has shrunk to the size of an ant. It's dark when the foursome returns to the anthill and Zoc is extremely happy to see Hova. The wizard was worried about his girlfriend, who had disappeared without explanation. When he finds out that they were in the human's nest, Zoc is furious, because that place is forbidden because it is too dangerous. To prevent Lucas from putting Hova in danger again, he threatens the boy, saying that he will never give him the potion that will make him grow again, because he is a threat. Frightened, the boy leaves and Zoc enters the colony. Seeing her boyfriend alone, Hova asks where Lucas is and the mage tells him he's gone. Initially, Hova is furious, but soon feels disappointed in Zoc and goes after Lucas. Fugax and Krila decide to accompany her, as they know the boy will not be able to survive the night alone. Meanwhile, Lucas is at the edge of a lake regretting the fact that he will never be able to return home. In that instant, he meets a beetle that ends up disappearing while Lucas washes his face. The boy then searches for the insect and discovers that there is a frog hiding in that lake. The animal is ready to devour him and uses a tongue to try to pull the boy into its mouth. As Lucas runs away, his friends find him and everyone has to run from the amphibian. The ants manage to save themselves by climbing into a soda can. However, Lucas cannot do the same. He rises a few inches, but soon slips and is swallowed alive. Zoc shows up just in time and, seeing Hova mourning the boy's loss, he feels guilty and decides to intervene. The beetle that Lucas met is inside the frog's stomach along with a firefly and a mosquito. Then the boy appears and, after seeing a dead insect in the midst of that disgusting goo, everyone despairs, wanting to leave that place. Outside, Zoc taunts the frog with the intention of being swallowed. He carries a root in his hands and plans to use it to save Lucas. As soon as it is devoured, he dips that root into the animal's stomach and the acid begins to bubble up. Seconds later, the frog burps and Lucas and the bugs are expelled. At this point, the grumpy mosquito celebrates its freedom, but is soon eaten by another frog. Zoc and Lucas meet up with the other ants and Hova forgives her boyfriend. As they are far from the colony, they decide to camp. In the morning, Fugax is the first to wake up and sees the mother ant approaching the colony. At that moment, he starts screaming with euphoria and his friends wake up right away. When looking at the giant ant, Lucas discovers that, in fact, who is approaching is Stan, the exterminator. At this point, he realizes that his plan to cancel the contract has failed and Zoc soon recognizes the guy in the cap as the Cloud Breather. On that day, all the members of the colony are elated at the arrival of the mother ant, but Zoc shows up to tell them the truth. Lucas says that the man is going to use poisons and sprays to end the colony. When asked why he knew all this, the boy reveals that he was the one who hired the smoke. Hearing this, the head of the council orders the guards to get rid of him, but Lucas has an idea. The boy suggests that Zoc use the potion to shrink Stan the same way he was shrunk. Together, they go to the wasp's nest to ask for help. As their lives were also at risk, the wasps decide to help the ants get rid of the exterminator. Mounted on wasps, the ants fly to the man's head, find that his ears are protected by earphones. With this advantage, Stan easily gets rid of all the insects that attack him. While recharging, the man takes off his earphones and Lucas tries to get closer to attack him. However, the wasp he was riding is knocked over and he lands on the man's head. There, Lucas finds dozens of lice living in a large amount of dandruff. At this point, Stan scratches his scalp and Lucas jumps on his face to flee. The boy ends up falling into that man's nose, but is thrown away when Stan blows his nose. Luckily, Hova is nearby and manages to give Lucas a ride. When everything seems to be fine, they are attacked and fall to the ground. The wasp is on top of Hova and both are unable to move. Seeing the smoke approaching, Lucas thinks about running away, but remembers that ants work as a team and refuses to leave his group behind. He lifts the wasp into his arms and frees Hova so the three can escape. Up ahead, they come across the mailbox and Hova climbs up. Lucas follows close behind and has apparently been engulfed by the smoke, but, to everyone's surprise, he manages to climb the wooden stake and thus saves his life and the life of the wasp. After getting a ride with Zoc, they have a new plan. Instead of pouring the potion into Stan's ear, they decide to smear the liquid on the wasp's stinger, which then stings the exterminator's backsides. Seconds later, the man begins to writhe and shrinks. Stan isn't the size of an ant, but he's the stature of a child. Now that the enemy is defenseless, the wasps that survived band together to attack him. As he is too short to get into his van, the man steals a tricycle and uses it to escape. At the end of the attack, the ants return to the colony and proclaim Lucas as their savior. Then the queen appears and gives him his freedom. Before leaving, the boy says goodbye to his friends and Zoc gives him the growth potion. After saying goodbye to Hova, the boy goes outside and, after drinking the liquid, returns to normal. His grandmother was watching through the binoculars and is extremely happy to see that Lucas is back. Hours later, Nichols return from their trip and the boy runs to hug his mother. When his parents enter to store their bags, Steve and his gang show up to pick on Lucas. However, the boy is not intimidated and decides to face him. Steve gets angry with Nicky and threatens to beat him up, so Lucas finds an opportunity to unite with the weaker boys and fight his neighbor's oppression. The young ones are also excited and run after Steve. However, the boy runs away, proving to be a great coward. As they were no longer under the control of that bully, they invite Lucas to play. But before going, the boy throws several jelly beans around the anthill.